Prostate cancer, erectile dysfunction, and muscle loss skyrocket after age 60. Yet most men don't realize how drastically their daily habits are speeding this up, especially one habit that takes barely 3 minutes a day to reverse. Every morning you wake up with tight hips, sluggish blood flow, and a weakened pelvic floor, you may be shrinking the size, strength, and stamina of something very personal, your manhood. But here's the good news: you can begin turning it around tomorrow morning, before your first cup of coffee. Let me ask you something uncomfortable but honest. How long do you spend sitting each day? If it's more than 6 hours, you're doing more damage than you might think. Prolonged sitting compresses your pelvic floor, reduces blood circulation to the groin, and cuts the supply of oxygen and nutrients that support strong, full erections. It's not just a comfort issue, it's your health, your performance, and maybe even your relationship on the line. Ignore this, and here's what's likely to happen. First, blood flow weakens. When circulation starts to slow down, erections become softer, slower to arise, and increasingly unreliable. Next, testosterone begins to fall. Movement is one of the easiest ways to maintain healthy hormone levels, but if you're inactive, your levels can plunge. This creates a vicious cycle: less movement, more fat, less testosterone, and even weaker erections. Meanwhile, hidden pelvic floor muscles, the ones that control your rigidity, stamina, and even the ability to orgasm, begin to atrophy. As they weaken, you lose strength and control. Ever noticed your flaccid size seems smaller now than it used to be? That may not be your imagination. A weakened pelvic system, reduced blood flow, and increased tension can literally compress and shorten the visible length of the penis, even when it's flaccid. Add to that the rising risk of visceral fat, the dangerous kind around your belly, and your cardiovascular and prostate health both take a hit. The Cleveland Clinic reports that increased abdominal fat correlates with higher rates of prostate enlargement and ED, both conditions that affect nearly half of men over 60. And as your body stores more fat, a special enzyme called aromatase begins converting your male hormones into estrogen. The result? Less desire, lower energy, and shrinking confidence in the bedroom. But the worst part? Most men don't even know it's happening. And they definitely don't know how close they are to reclaiming what they've lost. Here's a surprising twist. There's a simple pelvic activation routine that takes less than 3 minutes, and no, it's not your typical Kegels. In fact, a growing number of urologists are recommending this modified method that not only stimulates erectile nerves, but has also been shown to improve flaccid length by unlocking hidden pelvic tension. Intrigued? You should be, because we're just getting started. Let's begin where it all starts: blood flow. Erections are, first and foremost, a hydraulic process. Blood goes in, pressure builds, and the result is a firm, long-lasting erection. According to Harvard Health, erection quality is about 90% reliant on proper circulation. That's why men with heart disease, poor circulation, or diabetes often struggle with ED. As we age, inflammation and plaque buildup cause the arteries to stiffen, and nitric oxide, a crucial molecule that opens blood vessels, decreases. However, studies show that incorporating light dynamic movement first thing every morning can counteract this. Older men in a Harvard study who walked just 30 minutes a day experienced noticeably improved erectile quality. And you don't need to take a full walk to see benefits. Try this instead. Before breakfast, do 60 seconds of brisk walking in place to increase heart rate, slightly followed by 30 seconds of dynamic hip swings and leg bows. These movements gently open the hip joints, stretch the groin, and redirect circulation to the pelvis. It's like opening the dam. Once blood flows south, everything gets better. Now let's talk about muscles, the ones you can't see but absolutely feel when they're working. I'm talking about your pelvic floor. Most people have heard of Kegels, but what most men don't realize is that Kegels alone don't provide the full activation needed for a robust, rigid erection. In fact, overdoing traditional Kegels without balance can lead to even more pelvic tension. Urologists are now recommending more dynamic movements for male pelvic activation. Think glute bridges, deep bodyweight squats, and core integrated breaths. Why? Because these movements mimic the natural contractions involved in arousal, blood retention, and orgasm. A strong pelvic base serves as the root for your erections. When these muscles fire properly, you get stronger rigidity, better control, and even a perceived increase in size. And yes, that perception is backed by science. When the base is strong and lifted, it provides better support and angles for intercourse. Here's an easy move to try. Lie on your back with your knees bent and feet flat. Now push through your heels and raise your hips toward the ceiling. Engage your glutes, not your back. Hold for 2 seconds, lower slowly, and repeat for 30 seconds. This glute bridge pulse activates the pelvic floor and core, plus it increases blood flow around the lower abdomen. Next, let's talk about your hormones. As you age, testosterone becomes a precious resource. And while some men consider testosterone therapy, there are powerful, natural methods to preserve what you have and even nudge it higher. One of the best? Movement. The Mayo Clinic confirms that regular moderate exercise can stimulate natural hormone production. But more interestingly, specific types of movement matter. Compound body moves like squats, core holds, and diaphragmatic breathing spike anabolic hormones, meaning testosterone and growth hormone both get a boost. Our upcoming 3-minute routine combines movements that stimulate leg power, deep abdominal core engagement, and full body breathing. That's a powerful trifecta for hormonal health. Now, you've probably heard of nitric oxide. It's the molecule that Viagra works on. But did you know you can stimulate nitric oxide naturally with your diet? Start with beets and spinach. They're nitrate-rich, which converts into nitric oxide in your body. Need zinc and selenium? Brazil nuts are your friend. 1 nut a day is enough to support healthy testosterone production. Easy additions to breakfast after your new morning movement ritual. But none of this would matter if you're unknowingly keeping your body in a state of tension. That brings us to something most men have never heard before. Pelvic tension is literally hiding part of your penis, compressing it internally, shortening your visible length. Sounds uncomfortable? That's because it is. Tight hips, contracted abdominals, and overworked groin muscles can pull in the base of your penis, limiting your flaccid state and flexibility. Just like stretching your back gives you better posture, stretching your pelvis gives you better presentation. The Cleveland Clinic notes that fascia connective tissue can be trained to release with breath work and light movement. Try this. Kneel on one leg in a lunge, then gently tilt your pelvis forward while keeping your chest upright. Breathe deeply through the nose. Hold for 30 seconds per side. This stretch targets the hip flexors and opens the pelvic bowl, allowing more length to show. You're not changing your anatomy, but you're enhancing your natural presentation by eliminating unnecessary tension. Now imagine this, combining breath-controlled glute bridges, deep squats, pelvic stretches, and gentle mobility drills into one seamless 3-minute flow each morning. It wakes up your blood, your hormones, and your pelvic base all before sunrise. We'll walk through it step by step shortly, but first, let me rehook you with a surprising truth. Your flaccid penis isn't just hanging out, it's a barometer of your health. Men with better pelvic circulation and nervous system balance often report up to a full inch increase in flaccid length within weeks of daily practice. Not through pills, pumps, or gimmicks, but by releasing the muscles and tissues that have quietly compressed you over time. Isn't it time to release what's been hiding? We often joke about aging, but when performance starts fading, it's not funny, it's deeply personal. As a man, your sense of vitality, confidence, and intimacy are intertwined with how your body responds. But here's the real takeaway. Your ability to reverse many of these changes doesn't require hours in a gym. It takes consistency, simple moves, and understanding your body systems. You already have the tools. Now it's just about switching them on. Let's keep going. Here's how to switch them on starting right now with a 3-minute routine you can use every morning. No equipment, no complicated steps, just practical movements designed for men over 60 that wake up your blood flow, boost your testosterone, and release hidden tension in the hips and pelvis. Ready? First, let's spark circulation with 60 seconds of movement. Stand up tall, feet shoulder width apart. Start walking in place briskly. Pump your arms as if you're late for something, but keep it smooth. Breathe naturally through your nose. This isn't a workout, it's a wake-up signal to your heart and blood vessels. You should feel your body warming after 30 seconds. That's good. That's blood moving. At the 1 minute mark, we shift into 30 seconds of dynamic hip swings. Hold onto the back of a chair or rest one hand on the wall for balance. Swing one leg forward and back, gently at first, then pick up the range. Imagine loosening a rusty hinge. We're not forcing anything. Switch legs at 15 seconds. These swings begin unlocking tight hip flexors while guiding blood toward the lower pelvis. Yes, it's that simple and that effective. Next, we go into 30 seconds of bodyweight squats. But don't worry, we're not powerlifting here. Stand with your feet a little wider than hip width. Lower yourself gently as if sitting on a bench, keeping your chest tall and knees behind your toes. Go only as low as is comfortable. The key is to engage the thighs, glutes, and lower abdomen. These are the muscles that support your hormone production every day. Try 10 to 15 slow, controlled squats and breathe deep through your nose on the way down. Exhale through the mouth as you rise. That breathing rhythm helps stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, a fancy way of saying calm, focused, and arousal ready. Now, drop down to the floor or onto your bed if the floor isn't easy for you. We're doing glute bridge pulses. Remember these? Feet flat, knees bent, hands at your sides. Lift your hips as high as you can comfortably. Squeeze the glutes like you mean it. Hold for 2 seconds and lower down slowly. Repeat for 30 seconds. If you've ever wondered where your pelvic floor is, this exercise will tell you. Feel that tightness near the base of your buttocks and under your hips? That's the foundation. Every pulse boosts blood flow, builds support, and creates more stability in the base of your shaft. Men who've committed to this have reported less dribbling after urination, better control during sex, and increased confidence, something you can't put a price on. Almost done. The final 30 seconds bring it all together with a kneeling hip stretch. This is where we release the tension that's been pulling you inward. Kneel on your right knee, left foot forward like a proposal stance. Now gently tilt your pelvis forward, not by arching your back, but by tucking your tailbone slightly. You'll feel a stretch in the front of your hip and thigh. Keep your chest upright. Take slow breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Hold for 15 seconds, then switch sides. This stretch loosens years of sitting posture that may have shifted your entire pelvic structure. Before you stand up, pause for a moment. Check in with your body. Do you feel a little more open? A bit more awake? That's not just flexibility, that's your pelvic engine getting back online. So now you know the routine. 3 minutes. Once a day. And while it may seem small at first, remember consistency beats intensity when it comes to these types of changes. You're not training for a marathon. You're training to reclaim vitality, confidence, and function in a part of life that too many men quietly grieve in silence. Let's rehook for a second. Did you know that men who perform these kinds of low-impact, functional pelvic movements for just 21 consecutive days report dramatic changes, not just in the bedroom, but in their mood, posture, and even how their pants fit? This isn't about vanity. It's about identity and strength, and showing yourself and your partner that your best years aren't behind you. They're just beneath the surface, waiting to be reawakened. Now let me share a quick story. Dan, a 67-year-old retired firefighter, emailed to say he started doing this 3-minute morning flow after watching a video just like this. He was skeptical. 3 minutes won't change 20 years, he said. But 3 weeks later, he wrote back, I feel firmer, stronger, and sexier, and for the first time in years, I caught my wife watching me walk out of the shower. That's the kind of quiet victory most men don't talk about but deeply hope for. The takeaway? The smallest habits often bring the biggest wins. You may be asking, does this really work? The science says yes. Harvard Health, Mayo Clinic, and the Cleveland Clinic all emphasize the connection between blood flow, pelvic health, and hormonal balance as key pillars of male vitality. And guess what? Every part of this 3-minute routine taps into their recommendations, but with your specific age in mind. Because after 60, one-size-fits-all workouts don't cut it. You need smarter, gentler, more targeted solutions that build strength, not strain. That raise hormones, not blood pressure. That offer freedom from shame or disappointment. And most of all, solutions that you'll actually stick with. This is one you can do in your bedroom before even brushing your teeth. So how do you make this routine stick? Simple. Habit stacking. Start by attaching it to something you already do every day, maybe before your first cup of coffee, or just before your daily shower. When the cue becomes automatic, the habit turns effortless. And trust me, once you start seeing smoother morning wood, more energy, and that familiar edge in your step, you won't want to stop. So let me leave you with this. Aging is inevitable. Decline is optional. The man you were in your 30s or 40s, he's still in there. He just needs better conditions to thrive. Daily movement, strong blood flow, engaged pelvic muscles, healthy hormones. These aren't luxuries, they're foundations. And reclaiming them starts with something as simple as 3 focused minutes each morning. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe. We're building a community of men who are refusing to let aging define their ability to feel confident, connected, and masculine. And if you want the full step-by-step follow-along version of this 3-minute routine, tap the next video linked right on your screen. No pills, no gimmicks, just science, movement, and a daily promise to take back what's rightfully yours. You're not past your prime, you're just warming up. Let's get to work.